you a professional?
Are you?
That's it, Clark. Show 'em who's boss.
Oh, we're all in this together.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to the Clark Griswold YouTube channel. I am Mr. Clark Griswold. I'm happy to have you guys here. If you are a first timer, then welcome. Happy to have you guys here as well. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so down below. You click that subscribe button, click the bell next to it. That bell will give you notifications for when I send out videos like this daily. So daily setups, top 5 setups, top 3 setups, whatever they may be. Weekly swings, monthly swings, motivational videos, informational videos, learning tools, all kinds of other things. I'm here to help you guys out as traders, here to grow with you guys on your journey as well as mine. Okay, so I thank you guys for tuning in and watching, and following. My follower count has grown quite a bit on both YouTube and Twitter, so I thank you guys for that. I appreciate it. I'm here to help you guys learn and grow. Okay, so let's get started. Grab a piece of paper and a pen. You can mark these tickers down, and even if you're not using this as a watch list, use it as just screen time, getting to know the candles, what they look like, what we're looking for, and what we're trading. Okay, so this is our daily setups for April 4th. Okay, Monday, April 4th. I have a few of them, so let's get through them right quickly. First one I've got is an outside bar followed by an inside bar, or a 3 bar followed by a 1 bar. So in the Strat, an outside bar we call a 3. It breaks the high and the low of the previous candle. And in the Strat, an inside bar we call a 1 bar. And a 1 bar or an inside bar does not break the previous high or low of the candle. Okay, so these 3-1 setups are very, very powerful. They don't happen very often. It's a rare pattern. And we usually tend to have an explosion one way or the other with these. Okay, so when I do my top 5 lists or top 3 lists, these will always be on there if they're available to us. Okay, so let's get started on this. For this one, we can take the triggers off of the high or the low of the inside bar. So at 47.80 we can take calls, and our triggers are the preceding wicks, as I've got on this green line, or at this blue line here, which is our monthly trigger. So if we trigger here and we trigger here, or if we trigger here, hit this target, we're likely triggering on the monthly for Comcast to go higher. Okay, and this one, same thing below. We can take puts on this one at 46.85. We've got a small trigger target here, not a lot of gap there, not a lot of room, and then we've got another one here. The next one would be at this wick, the next one would be at this wick, at this wick, at this wick, and so on and so forth. And we can call these targets, we can call them pivots, we can call them magnitude, we can call them whatever they want, whatever you want, but they all mean the same thing. So these points here are where the bulls have their stop losses. The points up here are where the bears would have their stop losses. Okay, so that's the first one. It's Comcast 3-1 setup. We'll look for that tomorrow. Okay, Activision ATVI. ATVI has a double outside bar. Outside bars show broadening formations on a smaller time frame. Okay, and I'm not going to get into that today. It's just a fact that you guys can put in your head for future when we go through that. But we have a double outside bar. Okay, and even this would be a very rare pattern. So we'll look to see what happens, and it's very likely that we stay inside this range on Activision. We do have full time frame to the upside. Of course, I always tell you guys the day and the week are kind of insequential right now. They don't really matter because we don't know what is going to happen on Monday. So currently the month, quarterly, and yearly are all trending to the upside. So we can take either the high or the low of this break. We can look for calls at $80.87, puts at $79.77. Okay, Proctor Gamble Pg is the next one. PG has an outside bar again. We can take calls at 155.51, puts at 151.98. Keurig Dr. Pepper has a 2 down. So a 2 down bar is a bar that only breaks the low of the previous candle. okay? And if it were to break the high of the previous candle, such as this one, okay, we only broke the high of this candle, so it is a 2 up. But what we have here is a 2 down, because it only broke the low of this red candle, but it finished green, okay? So it's a failed 2 down, okay? So we will be looking for calls and this thing to reverse to the upside tomorrow, and we can take calls at 38.24. Guys, if you're trading common shares, it's the same thing. You're still taking the same trigger, okay? We break 38.24, you can get in with common shares. I would not recommend shorting common shares. If you're comfortable with it, you guys go right ahead and float your boat. That's not my jam though, okay? So Ford I've got on here just because I'm watching it personally. I've got a swing trade from last week. I always tell you guys when you do weekly swing trades to get 1 to 2 weeks out. I got 2 weeks out. If I wouldn't have, this would have been a failed trade for me. Currently, it broke this pink line barely, so I got in, came up, and then it's trending back down. So we'll see what happens next week. We'll see if it comes back from the dead completely like my Fubo did. My Fubo swings did the same thing, but I sold them for 30% gain on Friday. XOM, same thing. 2 down that finished green, so we can look for calls at 84.13. This pink line here is our weekly swing trades. Okay, so if we break this trigger here, we're likely breaking this trigger, this pink trigger here for the weekly, as that's our targets for the daily, okay? So pay attention to Exxon next week. Apple, AAPL, 2 down that finished green. Okay, so we can look for a reversal. We'll take calls at 174.88. I'm going to try to go through these fairly quickly, guys, so I don't take up too much of your time. American Airlines inside bars or a 1 bar on the Strat is a, I always tell you guys, an inside bar is like a coil or a spring, and it's showing consolidation in the stock, and it's getting tighter, 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 and it's getting ready to explode either to the upside or the downside. And that's when I first started trading options. I didn't know what the Strat was, but I only looked for inside bars, okay? Because inside bars were easy for me to find and easy to look for, and they always tended to show explosions to one way or the other. You can see here we explode to the downside for like 3 days in a row there. We go back one more if we can find another one here. Here's another one. We broke the trigger of the bottom of the inside bar and not quite targets, but you can get the idea of how they work. Here's another one, inside bar. We break way up to the high side, inside bar, break way low down to the downside, okay? So they're a powerful pattern. It doesn't always work, but probabilities say that yes, they will work. So that's why I traded inside bars off the start, and then just as I grew as a trader and I learned more things, I progressed into outside bars and reversals. So ADBE is the next one on here. We have a 2 down again that finished green, so 461.55 is our trigger for calls. BABA, this is the opposite now. We have a 2 up that finished red, okay? And we can see the month, quarterly, yearly are red. The day and the week don't matter right now, but we can look for puts on this one at 109.75. And then this pink line again is our weekly trigger. It's also our first target on the daily, okay? BIDU, same thing. 2 up that finished red. Little gap to fill here. We can look for puts at 140.16. CCL inside bar. Inside bar, you guys already know these. We can take calls at $20.46. Puts at 19.68. CL is Colgate Palmolive outside bar. Calls at 76.44. Puts 75.11. Etsy has a 2 down that finished green. We can take calls at 128.39. Facebook, inside bar, nice little tight inside bar here. We can take calls at 227.28 or puts at 222.70. Home Depot has high premiums and usually a wide bid-ask spread, so I don't usually normally play them. That was a lot. I don't normally play them. Inside bar, calls at 303.37, puts at 298.90. IBM, 2 down that finished green. We also have a hammer candle. This hammer candle basically is just, it looks like a hammer, and it's showing a bullish pattern, okay? So we can look for calls on this one at 130.27. Moderna has an outside bar, so calls at 179.03, puts at 170.60. Mr. Softy, that's Microsoft, MSFT. look for a 2-2 reversal. It's a 2 down that finished green, so I will look for a continuation up here. And 3-10-13, we can take calls. Pinterest is PINS, as a 2 down that finished green. We can look for calls at 25.46. Palantir has an outside bar, calls at 14.07, puts at 13.50. PayPal 2 down that finished green, calls at 118.24. Space SPCE, that's Virgin Galactic, 2 down again that finished green, so calls at $10.40. Uber has an inside bar. Uber, we can look for calls at 36.48, puts at 35.40. And I will mention to you guys right now that, you know, if you don't want to be looking at these daily plays, you can go look at my 30 and 30 video, and you can check intraday plays on the 30-minute chart to try and find reversals on the 30 and 30. It was kind of created by Paul Ituaru. You can follow him on Twitter as well. He's a good follow, as are many Stratters. But you can go look for those 30 and 30 plays as well. They're quite powerful, especially for beginner traders. They're a golden goose. They can make you guys a lot of money and a lot of percentage gains. So we look for, you know, 30% in 30 minutes is basically what we're looking for on those. DWAC is a Donald Trump stock. Had a 2 down that finished green, so we're going to look for this to trend upwards tomorrow. Calls at 64.15. GE is General Electric. Has a 2 down that finished green with a hammer candle. Calls at 92.56. IWM 2 down that finished green, so calls at 207.81. Trigger on that. XEL outside bar with a big hammer on it. 72.82, we can look for calls or puts at 71.44. XOP has it's quite a big inside bar, but it's an inside bar nonetheless. So calls at 138.76, puts at 134.79. And I will say another thing, if we gap up on these guys, so what I'm saying is if we open way up here in the morning or way down here in the morning, then we're looking at gap plays. And you don't have to play gaps, but I do have a video on gap plays up here as well. You guys can click on that to go find how to play gaps when things gap up first thing in the morning. CAT has a big outside bar. This one might be a tough one to play tomorrow, but we can look for calls at 225.56, 218.13 for the puts. The other thing about gaps, outside bars, the other thing about CAT is that the premiums are high and the bid ask is quite wide. The spread is quite wide, so not something I usually play CAT. My main go-tos are SPY, NEO. Those are the two I watch most of the time. I can play those during the day anytime. NEO has such big swings during the day, 8%, 5%, 4% daily gains or losses either way. So I really like to play NEO and SPY both. BBBY is Bed Bath & Beyond. Again, a 2 down that finished green with a hammer candle. Calls at 22.90. I'm not going to give you Alcoa because that one's a tough one to play. Vanguard Health VHT ETF. Inside bar. Calls at 257.64. Puts at 254.40. ARCW is a Kathy Woods ETF. 2 down that finished green. We can look for calls on this one at 89.34. Nano Dimension. It's a tough one. It's a smaller share value at 346 right now. Not for options, but for common shares, for the guys who play commons and they want to look for more share purchases due to the smaller dollar value. If this one reverses up, let's take this one at $3.57 as our trigger. Okay, that's the list for Monday, April 4th, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to check out my other videos. Make sure you subscribe down below. Give me a thumbs up. Follow me on Twitter at Mr. Clark Griswold, and look for my top 3, top 5 picks for tomorrow as well. And until the next one, guys, bye-bye.